How you doing, lad?
Good. How are you, Tanner?
I'm doing good. It's a pleasure to have you.
Nice.
Um, First, let's get started. You're a realtor here in Colorado Springs too, doing some house hacking. How did you first get started into real estate?
So my dad bought a portfolio of about five single-family homes, commercial strip mall, and an apartment complex. The year I was born, he pivoted from the music industry into that.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been around it my entire life, kind of helping him manage those properties. And I've learned a lot of what to do and what not to do and how to properly vet people in that instance. But yeah,
How does he go from music to real estate?
he got talked into it by some random person. It was a
Yeah.
good investment, and he was convinced of that. And I don't know if it was quite the correct thing for him to do at the time, but
Uh-huh.
they're all paid off now, and he cash flows 100%. So yeah, it's definitely worth it to some degree, but there's also some downsides with just owning property in Nebraska. So
Mm-hmm. How's the home price difference from Nebraska to Colorado?
um it's pretty stark. It's a huge difference. So he most of his houses are worth about 125. They're normally three bed, two baths.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all, pretty nice. For the most part, probably gets 800 to $1,000 of rent out of them every month. But for a similar property here, the current market, especially with that 10 to 20% decline that we've seen, I would say maybe 350 would be a fair number for most of the
Mm-hmm.
properties he has
Yeah.
there. But the taxes are just, and as you know, I mean, our taxes just got railed, but his taxes are just, they pretty much inhibit any possibility of large cash flow just because their taxes
Okay.
pay for schools, roads, etc. Where we have a little bit more. The road, it's definitely cleaner there than Colorado
Mm-hmm.
Springs, but I don't think I'd trade it for higher property taxes.
Yeah. Is it kind of similar to Texas then with their property taxes, or not too
Um,
extreme?
I'm not too sure. I don't really know. I haven't touched Texas at all, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't looked
Yeah.
for deals down there. I visited once, so I'd feel more comfortable investing in Nebraska at this point than down there, but I'm sure Texas is better for appreciation and cash flow.
Mm-hmm. With your helping your dad out, you did mainly property management stuff. Were you doing any of like being the contractor hire, like, hey, go fix this toilet or anything like that?
It's all very low level stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of yard work, lots of caulking, lots of
Mm-hmm.
white paint, and he would make me take off the outlets, but that was pretty much the extent of his knowledge of painting and anything in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Definitely, I'd say just yeah, a lot of really random. We've had a couple people abandon the properties before and had to do a roll off full of junk. Never anything crazy like with the police, but the sixplex wasn't. It was a nightmare. He never should have bought it.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Yeah.
I mean, lots of crappy tenants in and out, to say the least.
What
Uh,
class were the properties at in the neighborhood?
what's that?
What like type of property class were most of these?
So the houses are definitely, I would say, low end B. The sixplex was like a C flat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was interesting because the neighborhood is now finally getting gentrified. So if he would have held it through the last 5 years or so, he sold it about 7 years back. But if he would have held it appropriately through the next market cycle, he probably would have made another 200 grand off the top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he just was so sick of it at that point. I mean, we walked into he told me a story. He brought me there when I was 7 or 8 or something like that, long time ago, and he saw his tenants smoking meth in like the basement
Oh, dang.
apartment type of deal. And it's funny because I always gave him shit about selling the place. You never sell unless you have to, and even at
Yeah.
that point, you never
Refi till you
sell.
die, right?
Yeah, and he's like, no, 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 you don't understand. Like, listen to this. I can finally tell you this now. Um, But yeah, it was definitely just working at the apartment acquisition firm. If he would have bought it, repositioned it, sold it within a year, he could have made a flat 100 grand. If he would have bought it, repositioned it over 5 years, he would have made a couple 100 grand. But that's he wasn't an expert in that by any degree, and it's something that I've researched very heavily now at this point. But he didn't know that. He just thought, oh, you buy a property, you maintain it, and then you make a ton of money. And it's
Hmm.
not that's not really the case.
Yeah. So would you say you enjoyed helping your dad out?
Yeah, oh yeah, no, it was fun. I mean, it was child labor, but it was definitely hilarious.
Hmm.
Something to do on the weekend. He paid really well, so
That's good.
but I can say that it definitely uh I think dissuade would be the correct word from wanting to ever get into property management. I spoke with, I thought I wanted to be a property manager, 200 doors, whatever. And this was in Omaha about 4 years ago. I called about 10 property managers in town, and the resounding theme was we do not get paid enough for this. There's too much saturation. The 8 to 10% that we charge, and that was Nebraska. I think it's similar here, is not enough. And people think that it's too much. And so I was told by pretty much 9 out of 10 of those people, hey, you should really not get into this. You should be the owner. Managing it is the shitty part, because once you get above that 8 to 10% of profit or cash flow or however you want to put it, I mean that's just a headache off your shoulders. So yeah.
How did you end up coming to Colorado from, Omaha, Nebraska 4 years ago?
Savannah's dad, my fiance, um, he bought a house with an apartment in the basement. We both got laid off from our jobs in COVID, and we just needed a change of scenery. If you're young and you can go where you want to go after living in a place that's solely directed or solely about getting drunk, football, and being bored the entire time. And now it makes better people, so there is that
Hmm.
caveat, but it's definitely I mean, like, I'm 10 minutes away from one of the best hikes of my life. I'm 2 hours away from skiing. um we might go to the sand dunes today. It's actually
That's
our 8 year
awesome.
anniversary, which is
Oh,
funny because we
congrats.
both we both woke up and we're like, oh fuck, like that's funny.
Yeah.
Because we've just been trying to get ready for the wedding, but it's
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Hmm. That's awesome. And then so you came to Colorado, and how did you get sort of interested in like house hacking? And tell us about your house hack you have going on right now.
Living in your fiance's dad's basement is definitely a fantastic way to get yourself motivated to get
Yeah.
out.
Uh-huh.
So essentially, I had a deal that fell through. I was supposed to make a huge commission off my first deal as an agent. And while it is unfortunate, it allowed me to run the numbers on pretty much every duplex that I was intending to buy. I had my landlord in Omaha for the last place I rented. It was a duplex, and he paid 180 for it. We paid 2,000, or sorry, he made 2,000 overall, 1,000 per side. And I
Hmm.
just saw the power of, like, holy shit, man, this guy bought this place. Cost basis is 180, and the mortgage might be 800 a month. He's making $1,200 passive income a month.
Hmm.
And that's not, I mean, I had been used to that, but my dad did it in not the most efficient way. I didn't understand
Hmm.
that by going multifamily, you're decreasing vacancy and you are increasing your cash flow by sometimes double if you have a very nice duplex as opposed to two singular family homes, just because maintenance is cheaper. I mean, everything's cheaper on the multifamily realm and vacancies less. It's just better in every way,
Hmm.
in my
Yeah.
opinion. And I'm sure that could be debated, but
Uh-huh.
it's yeah.
How did you end up finding your property here in Springs?
So it was under contract for about 55 days. The previous owner, the person that it was under contract with, the buyer fell out, and I called every weekend, and um, the lady was, I think she was on her deathbed or something like that, so they needed to
Hmm.
get the place sold. But I mean, essentially, Savannah and we looked at it 3 months before the point of us even going under contract, and we walked in and we were like, oh, this place, and this is before I knew how much duplexes went for here. This is
Mm-hmm.
way overpriced. There's some really, really cool factors about it, but there's nothing, I mean, like, there's no way we could swing this. And then I, I closed like, uh, I don't know, 2 or 3 million just in 1 month. I just got really lucky. And it turns out that the financials worked.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like one of those, I just pulled it out of my ass and it
Mm-hmm.
randomly, we got super lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. And so it's a lot longer story than that, but I basically just called the realtors that were on the list side every week. Why isn't this closing? What's going on, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
1 week they finally called me back and said the guy lied about a certain, like, he had another rental property, so his debt to income was literally just slightly too high. His
Oh.
lender couldn't figure it out, and I got first rain, and I offered about 40 grand under what they were asking, and they
Mm-hmm.
laughed me off the phone. And I was like, no, 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 no. Like, what do you need? And they actually gave it to me for 5 grand under list price, which is
Mm-hmm.
already 40 grand under what it should have been listed for.
Mm-hmm.
Because I came to find out that I can actually add another unit, or I can tear it down and do four
Mm-hmm.
townhomes and sell them each for however X amount. ROI on that would be questionable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's zoned R4 PUD technically, but surrounding quadplexes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there's just a ton of money to be made. The room that I'm currently in right now, my office,
Mm-hmm.
um, over here, that's just a wall that was cut out. So there's actually an
Oh,
additional
okay.
bedroom that we'll add when we do
Uh-huh.
refinance or do a
Mm-hmm.
HELOC. Just a ton of equity to be pulled out of it since that lady was so old she couldn't really work on the place effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've touched literally every single spot of this. We've repainted. I cut down a kitchen wall. I installed 21 more square feet of counter space. It was definitely, I mean, I have 1,000 hours into this place just maintaining it, let alone
Mm-hmm.
the shit to make it better.
Yeah. So it's a duplex, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
And so on the other side, the tenants, did you just keep the same ones that are in there, or did you have to find new tenants?
Yeah, so I got extremely lucky with my tenants, and it's funny because I've had this vetting process that I give to literally all of my investors. I give to everyone I talk to. How do you do this? But it's always background check, credit check, and then landlord referrals, and that's, I mean, that's pretty much all you need. You'll
Mm-hmm.
find if there's a flag to be found, it's going to be in those three. Now, my tenants, I've actually haven't had to screen them yet. I'll have two new ones, but one's staying, and
Mm-hmm.
they're on the track team or the cross country team at UCCS. So I have their
Mm-hmm.
coaches' information. I have all of that fun stuff. But we inherited them with the purchase of the property, and they have been like dead silent. I don't hear them. We're in a side by
Mm-hmm.
side too, which was
Mm-hmm.
absolutely crucial. I know that you have the side by side, and
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's just you're getting way higher rent. It's
Mm-hmm.
legitimately just a townhome at that point.
Yeah.
Um, and that's another thing that we could do. We could sell the other half of the property and stay here and, you know, essentially have our mortgage serviced for however long 250 grand would last, 10
Mm-hmm.
years, something. Um, but there's a lot of different ways to go about it. And with that extra unit, I mean, like, sky's the limit. Um, we took them in at 1250 a month, and that was exactly half the mortgage, which was cool. I renewed their lease to 1400, which was way under market, but I needed them to stay last year, and I liked them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I just raised it, so they'll be paying 1600 this coming a month from now.
Mm-hmm.
So they
And how big is
pay.
it? Two bedroom, two bath?
Yes, so the other side's a 3 bed, 1 bath.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then my side is a 4 bed, 2 bath.
Okay.
Technically, it might be 3 bed and then one non-conforming. But
Mm-hmm.
the basement has an entire living room to itself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually another thing we've been mulling over is creating an egress stairwell and just sectioning off the
Mm-hmm.
basement so I could turn this into a triplex.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to think about all the
Yeah.
creativity, but as it sits, the best ROI is just we need to move out so that we can cash
Hmm.
flow.
Yeah.
This side would rent for about 2,200 a month. Um,
Hmm.
and so we'd cash flow. Mortgage is 2,500, probably 26 now that the new assessment's out.
Hmm.
But we'd get 1,200 over the mortgage for cash flow, and that's literally half of our next payment for whatever house we
Hmm.
choose to buy. So
Yeah.
got lucky there, to say the
Hmm.
least.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's kind of move and shift more towards networking in real estate and how important that is. You do a ton of networking here in Colorado Springs. I know you've mentioned to me, what's that one group you go to? It's like a young entrepreneur for a real estate meetup type thing.
Yeah, so you should go to this. You would
Uh-huh.
like it a lot. It's Young Professionals Network. It's ran by
Hmm.
his name's Trent. I can't remember his last name right now. Super nice guy. And it's
Hmm.
funny because I'm the youngest one there and I'm, 26. So it's like
Hmm.
that's a lie. But
Yeah.
I'm young, kinda. You guys are 45, but it's very, very helpful, and if it's just knowing that like list agent on the next property you're offering on, getting yourself out there. They all the last time I went, I had about 20 different brokers come up to me and just say, dude, I saw your bus. That is the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life. I would never do that, but that is fantastic for you.
Uh-huh.
And so it gives you like just with me personally, it's one of those things where they all know that I'm cool. They know what I know. They know I know what I'm talking about, which is the most
Hmm.
important thing.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I any networking like that, house hacker meetups, which you guys run, Colorado Real Estate Investors Association, Dan runs that one. Great point of contact, absolute authority. Him and Colin are in Colorado Springs, and they can get you in touch with anyone that you would ever need. Um, so the networking part's fantastic, but for the most part, I just like to put myself around money, and it'll always help just to get to that next level of market.
Hmm. What other like networking spaces do you go to or are involved in that's not so much like, oh, a meetup here at this location type of thing?
Sure, sure. So I do a lot of non-conventional marketing. We've talked about it a little bit, but I still teach tennis at the Broadmoor,
Nice.
nicest country club in town. Um, Probably once a week now, and I really shouldn't be doing that. But being in a space of people that are worth 10 to 50 to $100 million, other business owners, and that's the resounding theme there. Everyone that I talk to, I have maybe two clients that work for a company. Everyone else runs their own business. So
Hmm.
I teach one of my best students. His name's Ethan. His dad's name is Danny Mienka. He's completely redoing Nevada. He owns the land that Sprouts is on. He redid
Hmm.
Creek Walk. And so when I have anything that I need, say like a 5 acre plot or something, like what do I do with this? Well, someone else is going to charge a consultation fee. I'm teaching his son tennis and he likes me.
Hmm.
So he's happy to sit me down for 30 minutes and give me a nice outline of, hey, you could do this for highest and best use, but you could also reposition it into this, XYZ. So while I do get paid very well for teaching tennis, it's not, I could care less about the money that I make there.
Hmm.
It's just putting myself in the space of people that are worth so exponentially more than me, and I get to ask them weekly, if not daily sometimes, what do you recommend I do for this? What do you recommend I do to learn the ROI of marketing for, say, that bus?
Hmm.
How do you recommend, what agency do I go to? So I'm talking to like Fox 21 about running a media campaign.
Hmm.
There's a couple others. KDRO reached out the other day, and I'm not going to go with either of them, to be honest, because I feel
Hmm.
like I can make a bigger splash doing TikTok videos. Um,
Hmm.
but it's just the absolute power in which I've become extremely good friends with in the city. That's huge. Just being a small time kid from Nebraska, I didn't know anyone.
Hmm.
So by leveraging my skill in tennis, I never would have gone pro. I wasn't good enough for that, but I'm great at teaching. and it's
Hmm.
definitely a country club sport. So I just kind of found a way. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, it also kind of goes into some of that hyper wealth as well. Like, as you know, I've taught Bill Gates multiple years. I taught the Bush and the Koch family this year. That was really
Hmm.
cool. Um, I've taught Warren Buffett's family, never met the guy. There's a roster of very small subsidiaries. I could also say, I hate to name drop, but that's really all I could, do in that
Hmm.
situation.
What
But
kind of
yeah,
best practices do you have for someone that is looking at networking more when they find themselves in a situation where they can meet someone that has a high status or net worth that they could be of value to them? How would you recommend they like kind of meet them, introduce them, or kind of what questions they should ask to kind of stay connected with them?
I would. I feel like I was super late to the game for networking. I went
Hmm.
to a vocational high school for business, and they would drill it in us: networking, networking, networking. I think any type of networking you do, while it may be awkward, while it may be very uncomfortable for you, it's all good. Like if you're, I mean,
Hmm.
I'm an extreme extrovert, like you know that.
Hmm.
But House Hacker Meetup was the first one I went to. I met two people there. They said, "Hey, go to Colorado Real Estate Investors Association." From there, I went up to Dan, literally the first time, "Hey, I'm Max. I'm going to take you out to lunch. I'm going to buy it for you, whatever." And that's not going to work sometimes. Like I
Hmm.
called before I knew Colin. He told me to, oh, let's go to lunch sometime because he thought I was a potential client of his. And he only has time for that, which is more than fair. I completely agree. But I called him and said, "Hey, I'm a realtor. We met 2 weeks ago." And he just said, "I don't have time for that." And while it was awkward, it's also a sign that his, oh,
You still there, Max? Okay, I lost you.
yeah, yeah, I don't know where I was with that, but
Uh-huh.
as uncomfortable as you can get, like just go for it. People know, I mean, like I door knock. I don't give a shit. Like
Hmm.
I'm here to make money. I'm here to fucking make a fortune. I don't care if
Hmm.
you're awkward by me. Like if I would say like whatever, some arbitrary number of brokers know who I am in this city, maybe 10% or something, but I would have to assume by the end of 2 years from now, everyone will know my name. Um,
Hmm.
and that's power. It doesn't really matter kind of how much, it's just the seeds that we're planting right now are
Hmm.
far more beneficial than just kind of going for that one quick commission or anything like that.
Yeah.
So as many relationships as possible with as many people. You're going to get very uncomfortable replies. You're going to get people that tell you no, but you just need to keep going.
Hmm. Let's talk about this bus a little bit that you got going on for marketing. How did
Hell yeah.
you get the idea of that? What excited you about it to get moving on it?
Okay, so the bus, it's going to be, first of all, return on investment, zero so far. I got a picture, I got a text 2 days ago that said, "Hey, I saw your bus. Wow, that's great." And I said, "Oh, okay, fantastic." Very excited. Um, and then and then I think it's a spam or an escort service or something because I got a picture of a butt in a thong. And it was like, "Maybe you could service me in this way." And I just didn't reply. Hilarious, fantastic.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, is this like Tanner? Is this like Jordan? Are they someone messing with me? Because this is the
Yeah.
funniest shit I've ever seen." So the ROI is not there yet. And if I get one
Hmm.
sale, the bus was 17 grand for the year, and
Hmm.
I got a couple other bus bench to go with it. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's been shared over 100 times on Facebook. It's gotten
Hmm.
at least 100,000 views on Facebook. So for traditional people, like I wouldn't ever recommend, Tanner Pile real estate on the side of a bus. But since my
Hmm.
slogan is that MF knows real estate, people
Hmm.
take a picture of that and say, "Hey, look at this
Yeah.
cheeky douchebag. Maybe we should use him to buy a house." So
Uh-huh.
it's just one of those things. It sets the tone for who I want to work with as well.
Hmm.
We'll see if it pays itself off, and that's just one big house sale, so it will. I
Hmm.
know it will, but
Hmm.
it's tough to say. It's been up for about a month and a
Hmm.
week now, and I've only had other realtors come up to me and go, "Dude, that's so funny."
Hmm.
but no real leads off of it yet.
Yeah. I see it. I've seen it twice so far, and it
Nice.
always comes through my neighborhood off of Chestnut, right? By like Fillmore and I-25 right
Yeah,
there. So
yeah,
people are definitely seeing it, and especially when it's driving around all day,
yeah,
all those other eyes are always good. And for the long term, because you have it for a year, right?
yeah. So I bought the 52-week contract, and I mean it was expensive, but like I've never put I put money into my business, but
Mm-hmm.
it's this is a point where I could just jump off and say, fuck it. I don't care about anyone else. I
Mm-hmm.
care about my own success, and whoever
Mm-hmm.
works with me, I care about their success because that equals success for me. But like, it's one of those things where I've had nothing but positive reinforcement from it, which I assume there'd be at least a little bit of backlash.
Mm-hmm.
Just, oh, that's a stupid fucking slogan or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's only been, I mean, like a couple hundred of comments and random real estate meme pages, shit like that, where this
Mm-hmm.
is hilarious. I'd love to work with this guy. So it might actually be the ROI doesn't come from a true lead here. It comes from a
Mm-hmm.
referral of someone that says, "Oh shit, yeah, I saw you work in
Yeah.
Colorado Springs. You work for,
Uh-huh.
you do stuff in Summit. You do stuff in Denver." So maybe the ROI comes from that, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any other marketing tactics that you use or like to do?
I mean, I'm really bad about it, but bigger pockets post all of that. When
Mm-hmm.
people it's my like I paid for a degree, and my degree is in real estate and land use economics, and that sentence that I gave you is about all I've ever gotten out of it,
Mm-hmm.
other than some good finance classes, which are worth
Yeah.
millions of dollars over the years. But it's it's one of those things where if I can get in contact with anyone from the bigger pockets leads or just bigger pockets first and just say, hey, my thing isn't the most polished, like Jordan, you, Ryan, you guys all have beautiful pages of like I've done 40 deals, like I've done all this stuff. And so if I can get to them first and just be like, no, dude, look, like I have a degree in real estate. I was an apartment acquisition analyst for a while. I know my shit about investing. And normally, I get however X amount of people that go with me. But I'd say just bigger pockets posts are fantastic. Any online investing forum is fantastic. Um, I like my Instagram has that one stupid video that has 150,000
On the
views.
bike? On the bike?
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the bike. And like it's not even real estate centric, but that's
Uh-huh.
150,000 more people that at least laughed at something that I did. Uh,
Uh-huh.
and hopefully they clicked on my profile. So, 10% of that,
Mm-hmm.
15,000 more people know who I am and what I do and where I'm
Mm-hmm.
at.
Do
So
you think someone that's looking into getting into real estate or even starting any type of business should be using a business card?
That's one of those things. I don't think it matters for someone that doesn't have something funny, like a stupid slogan like I do. Um, I
Mm-hmm.
think mine has more weight to it because if you see two business cards of someone, Keller Williams, whatever, I'm a realtor. Here's a picture of my face, and then you see me, and it has my slogan on it. Depending on how you feel about me at that time, you're probably going to go with the guy that is funnier than the other realtor for sure. So
And what's the slogan one last time? So they
that
can.
MF knows real estate.
There you go. Awesome.
Uh,
Last question for you that we'll wrap up on is I always
sure.
like good quotes that are always like powerful and can change the way someone looks at life or business. Is there a good quote that you have that has affected you in a certain way of business or life?
Um, I don't. Yeah, I don't like quotes because I don't know. I have resounding ideas that have been told to me by other people. I couldn't tell you who said them originally.
Mm-hmm.
I had a guy who I met at a top producer panel for our brokerage, Fathom Realty, and he just like the one thing. So it may look like I'm not like it may look like I'm comfortable doing all of this stuff, but networking, door knocking, meeting super wealthy people, asking them buy or sell or investment advice, whatever. It's extremely uncomfortable. Most people would get heavy anxiety from that, and I do as well. But I just do it, and it makes me a shitload of money. So,
Hmm.
uh, my favorite quote, I have it up there,
Hmm.
but it's if I'm comfortable, I'm failing, and
Hmm.
that's never been more true. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never been comfortable like unless I'm getting drunk at the House Hacker meetup. But like even going to that for the first couple times, a year ago, it was like,
Hmm.
hey, I'm doing this by myself. I'd really prefer to have a friend with me here. But I just have to go up to random people at networking and just be like, look, I'm here to stay. I will be a huge producer unless I die,
Hmm.
or I'm in jail, which heavy possibility. Um, but like it's one of those things. If you're comfortable with what you're doing, like, and I got various reassurance on the bus with it being hilarious, but like I woke up one morning and I was like, oh fuck, like my face is on a bus today. Like that's kind of shit. I don't know if this is a good idea, but I paid for it,
Hmm.
so here it is. And
Hmm.
it's a great idea. I love it, but at the end of the day, if I'm comfortable, man, that means I'm not doing something right, to say the
Hmm.
least.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think, yeah, you really hit that spot on that you need to put yourself in uncomfortable situations in order to grow and be successful in
No,
life. So
yeah.
awesome. Thank you, Max. If there's a place where people can reach out to you and ask you questions, where would you recommend they go?
Yeah, so I mean my direct line is always the easiest way to get a hold of me, and that's call or text anytime. I talk about real estate 24/7. So that's
Hmm.
719-640-1980. My social media handles at MF Home Group, my website mfhomegroup.com. Yeah, any, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I'm on everything.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Max. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you, Tanner. That was fun.